You thought the strange names beneath your family's altar were nothing more than an old memorial. Just 5 names. 5 people you had never met. But the day you touched that framed list, your blood wouldn't stop flowing. And that night, someone in white appeared outside your room. For years, you tried to convince yourself it was only your imagination, until the dead started visiting your dreams, and one of them refused to leave. When you were still a child, you often paid attention to unusual things around your house. One day, you noticed something strange on your family's altar. There was a framed sheet of paper containing 5 names. Some were male names, some were female names. All of them sounded unfamiliar. The names were printed on a sheet of paper and placed inside a frame, instead of traditional ancestral portrait. The frame sat on the altar like a memorial tablet. As you looked closer, you realized all 5 names shared the same family surname as your father. Curious, you asked him about it. That was when your father explained something that would stay with you for the rest of your life. Beneath the land where your house stood, there were 5 bodies buried underground. 3 were located beneath the center of the house, directly under the altar. The other 2 were buried near the front yard. When your father bought the land and built the house, he already knew they were there. Because nobody knew who they were, he created those names himself, so they could be worshipped properly. Since the dead were completely unidentified, he even gave them his own family surname. Before that day, you had never thought much about it. But once you learned the truth, everything changed. You couldn't stop thinking about them. You constantly felt as though they were somewhere around you, watching, waiting. Then came the Lunar New Year. That afternoon, you stayed home alone and began cleaning the altar using a damp cloth. You carefully wiped away the dust. When you looked at the framed list of names, you noticed it was dirty too. Without thinking much about it, you reached up and wiped the glass. Suddenly, your finger was cut. The wound was tiny, just a small scratch, but the amount of blood shocked you. It kept flowing. You wrapped it with a bandage, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. When your mother came home and saw what happened, she quickly treated the wound with traditional medicine. Only then did the bleeding finally slow down. After that, you stopped cleaning the altar altogether. You left the job unfinished. That night, you went to sleep in the back section of the house. Your sleeping area was located behind the altar wall. There was a doorway nearby that connected to another house owned by your family. While sleeping peacefully, you suddenly felt something strange. It felt as if someone was standing at the doorway, watching you. You could sense the figure clearly. The person was dressed entirely in white. When you opened your eyes, nobody was there. You checked carefully. Nothing. Thinking it was only a dream, you closed your eyes again. But the feeling didn't disappear. You felt the figure pacing back and forth outside the room. This time, you didn't dare open your eyes. You pretended to stay asleep. Then you felt it stop moving. The figure stood completely still. Slowly, it tilted its head and stared directly at where you were lying. You were terrified, but somehow, you forced yourself to stay in bed until morning. The next day, you asked your father if he had entered your room during the night. He said no. Even though you were frightened, you didn't tell what you experienced. 3 days later, it happened again. The same white figure, the same feeling, the same silence there. Eventually, it became so common that you stopped reacting. You told yourself, if they want to stand there, let them. Sometime later, You noticed a framed list of names had disappeared from the altar. When you asked your father, he simply said it had been removed. Your family was Catholic, and your mother never really believed in ghost stories. You assumed she thought you were only scaring yourself. Years passed. The altar was no longer used to worship those unknown people. But even now, strange things still happen. Sometimes, the family dog suddenly turns toward the inside of the house and starts barking for no reason, again and again, as if it can see something nobody else can. You often wonder if those 5 souls are still there, not to harm anyone, just to remind you that they never truly left. The second story began in 2017. That was when you met Mr. T. You dated him for 3 years before eventually breaking up. After the breakup, Mr. T found a new girlfriend. They were together for only 9 months. Then he died, electrocuted while trying to help someone during work. During the years you spent together, Mr. T cheated on you many times, again and again, yet you kept forgiving him. You sacrificed so much of the relationship. Eventually, you couldn't take it anymore. That was why you left. Even after the breakup, his family still cared deeply about you. His mother and relatives often invited you to visit, but you always found an excuse not to go. You felt there was no reason. The relationship was over, and honestly, you were busy with work. After all the pain he caused, you no longer had romantic feelings for him. Then one day, everything changed. You normally worked until late at night, sometimes until 11 or 12. But for some reason, that day your shift ended around 3 in the afternoon. You went home early and fell asleep. About an hour later, your phone rang. A woman was calling. The caller was none other than Mr. T's ex-girlfriend from before he met you. Over and over, she repeated the same words. Mr. T is dead. You need to come to his funeral. The moment you heard the news, your entire body went numb. Then you suddenly remembered something. For several days, you had been dreaming about Mr. T, and during those same days, his number had appeared on your phone repeatedly, but you never answered. Soon after, Mr. T's mother and several of his close friends also contacted you. They wanted you to attend the funeral. Eventually, you agreed and took a bus back to his hometown. You thought it would simply be a funeral. You had no idea that the truly strange events were only beginning. When you arrived at the funeral, the atmosphere felt heavy. The moment you stepped inside the house, you saw Mr. T's current girlfriend sitting near the coffin. As soon as she noticed you, she leaned closer to the coffin and whispered something under her breath. You clearly heard her say, "If you let her see you, I'll be angry with you." It was as if she was warning Mr. T's spirit not to appear before you. Unfortunately for her, Mr. T's mother overheard everything. She was furious. After lighting incense, you sat beside his mother and tried to comfort her. As relatives gathered around, she pointed at you and introduced you proudly. This was his first girlfriend. That other girl came later. Then she began speaking emotionally. She told everyone how much she had liked you. She said she had once planned for her son to marry you after you finished school. But Mr. T had chosen a different path. He spent his time playing around, making bad decisions, and eventually ended up with someone else. Now he was gone. You listened quietly. You no longer loved him. The romantic feelings had disappeared long ago, but there was still a small part of you that cared. When you lit incense, you prayed only for one thing. You hoped he could watch over his parents and give them strength. Nothing more. A short while later, you were in the bathroom. Suddenly, the water tank began shaking violently. It rattled loudly against the wall. The noise startled you so badly that you immediately ran back outside. Barely 5 minutes later, another strange thing happened. The kitchen suddenly caught fire. People rushed to put it out. At first you were frightened. Then you remembered something older people often said. Someone who had just died wasn't supposed to be able to enter a house yet. Whether that was true or not, you didn't know, but somehow it calmed you down. That night, however, things became much stranger. You weren't the only person who saw Mr. T. One of his closest friends, Mr. N, saw him too. A few days later, after the burial, Mr. N told you what happened. The night before the funeral procession, you had slept beside Mr. T's mother near the coffin. She cried almost the entire night. Over and over, she blamed you for leaving him. She held your arm while sobbing. Why didn't you keep him? Why did you leave him? If you hadn't left him, he wouldn't have ended up with that girl. Please bring my son back. She cried until her voice became hoarse. The entire house was filled with grief. Even during the funeral procession, she continued blaming everyone around her. Eventually, the burial ended. That afternoon, you returned to the city. You thought everything was finally over. You were wrong. That night, Mr. T appeared in your dream. He didn't speak. He simply stood there, smiling. You couldn't remember exactly what he was wearing, only that he had on a black shirt and shorts. The dream happened around 4 or 5 in the morning. He stood there quietly, watching you, smiling. Nothing else. When the dream ended, your body became incredibly heavy. You couldn't move. It felt as though something was pressing down on your chest. After struggling for a while, you finally regained control. The first thing you did was grab your phone. You immediately messaged Mr. N. After hearing your story, he revealed something shocking. He had seen Mr. T too. Mr. N said he was sleeping near dawn when Mr. T suddenly appeared. Trying to joke around, Mr. N asked him, "You're dead already. Why are you still here? Stop coming back and go reincarnate." Mr. T answered, "But I have to come back. I need to visit my girlfriend." At first, Mr. N assumed he was talking about the woman he had been dating before his death, the current girlfriend. So after waking up, Mr. N contacted her. He asked whether Mr. T had appeared to her. She said no. At almost the same moment, your message arrived. You told Mr. N about your dream. Only then did he realize something. The girlfriend Mr. T had been talking about wasn't his current girlfriend. It was you. The realization terrified you. The next night, nothing happened, but the night after that, the dreams returned. This time, you found yourself walking through a vast rubber plantation. You walked deeper and deeper into the forest until you reached a river, or maybe a stream. You couldn't tell. As you stood there, a voice suddenly spoke. 3 people are going to die. One is Mr. T. One is Mr. N. And the third is another man. The moment you heard those words, you woke up in shock. You were already late for work and quickly forgot about the dream. That night passed quietly, but the following night brought something far worse. In your dream, a faceless man appeared behind you. He had no eyes, no nose, no recognizable features, only a human-shaped body. The figure wrapped both arms around you from behind. Then it tightened its grip around your throat. You fought desperately. You kicked, You struggled, but you couldn't escape. The pressure kept increasing. Your lungs burned. Your vision darkened. Then suddenly, you woke up. Your entire body was drenched in sweat. You felt as if your legs had just kicked something moments before waking. The clock showed a little after 4 in the morning. Unable to calm yourself, you grabbed your phone and sent Mr. N a message. You told him about both dreams. Then you lay there awake until dawn. Around 5 o'clock, Mr. N finally replied. His response made your blood run cold. The dream about the rubber plantation. He had dreamed it too, exactly the same dream. At that moment, both of you began wondering if these dreams were actually warnings, a message from the dead. The next morning, you, Mr. N, and several of Mr. T's friends went together to his grave. Everyone lit incense. Everyone prayed. They begged him to speak clearly if he had something unresolved, if he needed help. They wanted him to say so directly. After that day, Mr. T stopped appearing for a while. You hoped it was finally over, but his final visit had not yet come. 49 days after Mr. T's death, he returned one final time. That night, you had a very strange dream. You saw an old woman sitting beside the road. Next to her sat a young girl. The girl was Mr. T's younger sister. She kept calling out, "Big brother, big brother." Curious, you walked toward them. Step by step, you moved closer. Then suddenly, a dark shadow appeared directly in front of you. You froze. Fear exploded through your body. Instinctively, you ran. But before you could get away, the shadow rushed toward you. Its face came within inches of yours. Only then did you realize who it was. It was Mr. T. But something was terribly wrong. You couldn't see his arms. You couldn't see his legs. It was as though he existed only as a floating shadow. Yet despite being so close, you felt something preventing him from reaching you completely. Like an invisible barrier stood between the two of you, a force neither of you could cross. You watched as he drifted away, floating over a fence, disappearing beyond an alley. Then you woke up. As soon as morning arrived, you sent another message to Mr. N. After reading your story, he told you something unbelievable. Only a few days earlier, Mr. T had appeared to him again. Mr. N had asked, "It's already been 49 days. Why are you still here?" Mr. T answered, "I can't leave. That old woman is keeping me here." Then he mentioned the traffic roundabout, a place where locals often shared ghost stories. According to rumors, the spirit of an old woman haunted the area. People claimed she appeared there at night. After hearing this, you started wondering whether Mr. T had become trapped there when his funeral procession passed through the roundabout. Maybe the old woman's spirit had refused to let him continue his journey. The possibility terrified you. You begged Mr. N to visit a temple. You asked him to pray for Mr. T. And more importantly, you asked him to tell Mr. T to stop appearing before you. You were simply too scared. Mr. N agreed. The next day, he went to the temple and prayed. After that, you stopped seeing Mr. T. But someone else began seeing him instead. His current girlfriend. Sometime after his death, she traveled to his hometown. However, she never visited his house. She never offered incense. She never greeted his mother. Instead, she stayed at a nearby hotel. That very night, Mr. T appeared to her. He asked, "Why did you come here without visiting me? Are you angry with me?" The dream frightened her badly. The next morning, She rushed straight to his house. She cried. She burned incense. Then she left. Not long afterward, Mr. T appeared before his mother as well. This time, he had a message. Nam, please stop crying. Please eat properly. I'm worried about you. Then he said goodbye. After that, he never appeared to her again. According to what you later heard, Mr. T had died while trying to save someone else's life. Many people believe deaths like that left unfinished karma. Because of that, Mr. N occasionally claimed he could still see Mr. T wandering around, sometimes sitting near the front door, sometimes walking aimlessly through the house, sometimes looking painfully hungry. Months passed, then years. Eventually, you convinced yourself everything had ended, but it hadn't. One day, another tragedy occurred. A man named Mr. E died in a motorcycle accident. His vehicle slammed into a utility pole. He died instantly. The strange part was that many people had been nearby, yet nobody managed to save him. When you heard the news, a memory suddenly resurfaced. During Mr. T's funeral, his mother had pointed directly at Mr. E. She shouted at him, "You were the one who brought my son to that job. You killed my son. Give my son back." At the time, everyone thought grief was speaking, but now mystery was dead too. The coincidence sent chills through your entire body. Later, people finally explained how Mr. T had died. He worked painting buildings. One day, a co-worker was electrocuted. Trying to help, Mr. T rushed over, but in his panic, he forgot to cut the power first. The electricity passed through the metal scaffolding. It struck him too, and he died. Some witnesses claimed they saw him thrown backward. Others thought he had simply fallen asleep. Nobody seemed to know exactly what happened. The stories never matched. Even his family couldn't determine the true cause. Eventually, after 100 days had passed, they asked the authorities to investigate. Everyone knew electrocution had killed him, but nobody knew whose mistake had caused it. Mr. E was supposed to be involved in those proceedings. Yet shortly after the 100th day, he died in that accident. Afterward, strange dreams returned once more. This time, you dreamed of Mr. T standing beside Mr. E. In the dream, Mr. T pointed at you and proudly said, "This is my wife." Even though the two of you had broken up years before, even though he had another girlfriend before he died, the words terrified you. You knew he wasn't trying to harm you. You truly believed that. But fear doesn't always listen to logic. So once again you asked Mr. N to pray at the temple. You begged him to ask Mr. T to stop appearing in your dreams. Eventually, things became quieter. The dreams became less frequent. But one feeling never disappeared. The feeling that someone was always nearby, watching, following, waiting. Every relationship you entered afterward seemed doomed. You would date someone. Everything would be wonderful. Then, after a few months, the relationship would suddenly end. Again, and again, and again. Even now, you are happily dating someone. At least, that is what you thought. Then something happened just yesterday. You and your boyfriend were lying together in your room. Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed a dark shadow move past the doorway. The room beside yours was empty. In fact, it was locked. No one should have been there. At first, you assumed it was just a person walking by. But when you looked again, you realized something disturbing. The shadow had moved far too quickly and had made absolutely no sound. Not a single footstep. Not a single creak. Nothing. That was why you finally decided to tell your story. You don't know whether Mr. T's spirit is still following you. You don't know whether everything was merely coincidence, or whether something else has been walking beside you all these years. What you do know is that even after all this time, sometimes late at night, you still feel as though someone is standing just beyond the darkness, watching, waiting, and refusing to leave.